G'day everyone, what are we doing? Gosford Cup Day. Rather than the true, what they put up, I'll just make sure there's no changes. Holstein to forward. They're okay. We won't change the tactics for freckles. 1 second. So it remains a heavy 8. I'm expecting it to be a little bit better than that, so probably sort of a 6 to a 7. Fence should be off in the straight, so you want to be, preferably just off speed with cover. You can be rails in run, but you want to get off in the straight without doubt. So ideally, just behind speed with cover, getting sort of 4, 5, 6, 7 off, it possibly is not that bad. So I'll keep an eye on it, but I would expect the straight to certainly be off on the inside. That's how I'm setting it up. First race is for the 2-year-olds. I think it's a pretty competitive race. Would expect Command approved to cross, Resonated to drop outside it, and I don't think it'll hold it out. Zoo Tiger sort of pops in behind, whether it wants to stay off the fence, and London kicks up the inside, and I'd expect them to be sort of the first 4 decisions to be made by Northern Beaches Contemporary, whether they try and find a spot or just drop back. Pretty tactical affair. I thought that Resonator's the one to run down. I thought that 1200, especially if it finds the fence with the jockey difference on Command approved, that it'll probably be a little bit vulnerable late. Resonator will probably take care of it at some point, and then it's up to horses like Contemporary, London, Zoo Tiger to be running on. Zoo Tiger's certainly the one that looks like it's going to map to be the first challenger, so it sits right behind Resonator most likely, I would say. And then you've got sort of London that has to negotiate the inside gate, which I think is a little bit against it. Also having the run Zoo Tiger is a definite benefit as opposed to London. I thought the trials were very good for Contemporary first up, just no clue where it gets to. Very dangerous horse if it sort of lobs in a 3 wide spot with cover, which is possible. Could easily end up sort of 5th, 6th, 3 wide with cover, and then it's very dangerous from there. Northern Beaches, I want to see it improve off its first preparation. That's about it. It's a pretty competitive race. I couldn't find anything too exciting price-wise. The one I've got it marked a little bit shorter than its price is Contemporary, but it does need luck in run, and it's not a race that I'm sort of overjoyed to be playing in. So I think it's a good race to watch the first. Race 2, the Highway, very good speed here. Obviously, Boom Boom Basil was very good first up from an outside leader position, but looks like it's going to have to work to even end up in that sort of role today. I don't know where it ends up from the draw, and that's very scary for it. You've got not just horses that want to roll forward in, sort of Ray of Dreams, Cracking Mo, Easy Rosie, and then you've got horses under it that want to hold position. So it's going to be difficult for Boom Boom Basil to get across. The one thing you can expect is good speed, I would imagine. And I think the 2 closers, with that sort of setup, a 2 you got who, it's 2 sort of most average runs, I would say. This prep were on fast tracks. It was on a nice track at Dubbo and really let down well there and ran well, ran good time, ran good rating. Expect it to sort of bounce back to that form here. A little bit worried about 2 scratchings and an abandoned meeting, so 43 days, but at least it's back in distance onto softer track. I see they put the blinkers on it, that's not going to hurt, and a lugging bit, so maybe it just got a little bit lost around that turn at Albury last start. It wasn't the place to be, sort of coming out wide there, I don't think either. So it can improve for a number of reasons today. 2 you got. Should be strong. Who else is the other horse I thought? Oh, Markle Dreamer. So it's been getting back on these bottomless tracks at Randwick. Well, it did last start and just poked away there late. I thought its run was better than it looked. Obviously, Boom Boom Basil and those horses were dominant over there, but I think the conditions are far more suitable for Markle Dreamer today. Hopefully it finds that similar spot I was talking about to Boom Boom Basil, sort of 3 wide with cover, edging into the race, approaching the turn, and should be strong in the middle part of the track. Certainly handles the conditions okay, and a firmer track than what it's seen will be in its favour as well. So I think they're the 2 main closers. 2 you got Markle Dreamer. Boom Boom Basil, very scary if it gets across there cheaply and the speed doesn't eventuate. It's definitely the one to run down. Freedom Square's first up. It's not a horse that's really got to turn a foot. I see they put the blinkers on, trialled quite nicely, but it's a horse that sort of needs to build up rather than sort of sit and sprint sharply. And whether it gets that opportunity from an inside draw today, I'm not sure. In what should be a sort of ugly packing field coming to the turn, a few horses weakening and few looking for runs. So it could be a pretty messy race. And as I said, I think the 2 that I could find are 2 you got and Markle Dreamer, but they will need luck. And the one horse I thought, even though it was 11 to 14 last start, was a little bit flattered by the way the track was and where it was in the run. They ran very slow, and it was in the right spot the whole time. Was Song Blue. Can improve because it was sort of a run behind there, jumping in trip, but needs to from the inside draw. Race 3. Another competitive race. Looks like there's pretty good speed here, and the horse that I thought was best set up this time was Miss Fox. Ran against a similar class of opposition last start, but I think it was a stronger race. Garrison, he's a hot shot. Selena Dreaming. I think any of those horses would be very hard to beat here. Going off its first up run at Canterbury, where it sort of got very close to Devil's Triangle, who I think's racing really well. That form again is very good here. A strong 1200's probably a slight query, but it is a winner over this track and distance in very similar grades. So a benchmark 72 fillies and mares. This is obviously against the Colts as well. Sorry, the Colts and Geldings. But she is certainly good enough. It's just she needs a lot of stuff to go her way. She does seem to get that sort of setup here, like a race that looks very suitable for a horse peaking. Nice draw. Horses in front of her are not super scary. She should be able to get over the top of them late. So Miss Fox, the best setup runner here for me. Delalat always scares me. Very easy in betting last start and didn't really fire a shot. Again, draws poorly here, loses James McDonald to Nick Haywood. These are negatives. A wide draw negative, 42 days, not great. Has been scratched from Warwick Farm and Eagle Farm. I just think if you go back to that first up run, if it reproduces that off a cold ride and gets a bit of luck in run, can certainly run very well here. Dalalat, stable that always scare the pants off me as well. Impulse Control racing really well. The harder run it gets, the better it seems to go. If it sort of lobs along on speed here, I think it's the one of the on paces that gets the right setup. And Adams Prince is the other horse I was a little bit scared of here, just to forgive last start where it found some trouble. I think that form's good for this. 2 starts back, led all the way. That it won't be leading this race, I wouldn't imagine. But again, that Devil's Triangle form sits in all right with this race, handles all sorts of going, has form over sort of further than 1200, which I think is important in a pretty tough race here. And it's a bit of a knockout hope from an inside draw. This other horse down the bottom is a query runner, Showtime Lady. Has been scratched 4 times, or 3 times in an abandoned meeting. Looks like they've been waiting for a dry surface, so it's nearly been 6 weeks since its last trial. It looked to be going well coming into this, like coming into where it was scratched a few times. I've sort of been looking out for it, but it looks like they've been waiting for a dry track, and they've sort of given up waiting. So that's a bit of a worry for me. I think it's short enough at 550. And I think Miss Fox and Dalalat are the two here I'm most interested in. Probably would save on Impulse Control just because it's going to be up close. And I didn't mention Oxford Tycoon. I thought it went quite well first up and just completely knocked up late in the piece there. A horrible last section, so a little bit of a concern there. And I think it may need one more run. Did have the Equicast too, which is not one of my favourite things. So interesting horse, but maybe just needs one more look at Oxford Tycoon. Here, race 4. 1,000 metre race, heaps of speed. Can't see them possibly sitting up here because every runner but one wants to find an on-pace position. There's quite a few that are first up. They're also, none of them are like sit sprinters. They're more tough, grinding, maintain a run sort of horses. So they'll all want to be as close as they can. I'm talking about horses like Blow Dart, Never Second, D-Horn, Unicorn. Then you've got fast horses that all they have is speed, which is basically Sabrina and Nikki Song. So that to me says they all want to be within striking distance. So they should go quick. And the horse that looks extremely obvious is Siege, who's going to get back and just needs to track up and be close enough on the turn to finish over the top of them. Trial's good, and it just looks the obvious, obviously first up and how far back it gets. So the query's over 1,000. If it was 1,100, I'd definitely be backing it at around the $4 mark or whatever it is. I think it's close enough to a play over 1,000. It's just that extra 100 metres for a horse that's not a specialist. It is a winner over 1,000, but it was at Goulburn and sort of had a few things go its way there. Here it's got to track up and be within striking distance. But if it is, it's certainly the horse to hold out here. Siege couldn't find a danger with confidence. Thought there was not much between the rest of them. Race 5, a lovely 2,080 metre benchmark 78. They look like they're going to go super fast here. Who does that suit? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. Pretty evenly graded sort of lot for me. And I came back to Bonnie Ezra, and what scares me is she's jumping from 1600 to 2080 meters and looks like she's going to come into a pretty hard run race. That's not the ideal setup. And the other horse that I found was Ting Tong, which came out of the same race, like as in talking about value in this race, and they're both jumping in distance. So that scares me. A fast pace is probably going to suit Military Mission, even though it's an on-speed horse, whether it takes a sit on a horse like Made by Khan or takes the front up. Still short enough, and I'm not sure about this Hammer On. I'm not sure at all, but the blinkers go on. 4 start, first prep. Setup wise okay, 1900 up to 2080. The jockey's a bit of an issue, drops 3.5 kilos. A few good things there, and where it gets to in the run, it could easily follow Made by Khan straight across and slot in straight behind them and get an absolutely perfect run here. So I'm scared of it 100%. Could I chime into $3? Absolutely not. And it's sort of a race, the more I look at it, the more it scares me. But I think Bonnie Ezra and Ting Tong can run well, and the two obvious ones on speed are Military Mission and Hammer On, and there's no rocket science in any of that. I couldn't find anything else that's going to really improve significantly for any reason. So it looks a pretty crazy race. They're the first 5. I'll get them out to make sure that they're all out, and I'll get the next 5 out as soon as I can. These early starts, big fields and scratchings make things difficult to sort of tie up and get everything up before the first. So I'll just make sure these are out first, and I'll get back with the rest. Thanks, guys.